Welcome to the Eddie Lam Show. We dedicate this podcast to interviewing musicians of every kind, as well as online content creators on social media. Whether if they're starting out or if they're already on the rise and still growing, this show is all about having a fun conversation with our guests, talking about their favorite things that relate to their passion for their projects. Thank you so much for tuning in, and let's have that conversation. The best part about live shows is making the connection between the audience and the performers. Our guest for this episode is not only a singer and songwriter, but she's also a producer, DJ, party planner, and content creator on social media. Her name is Tay X, originally based in Los Angeles, but is now making a name for herself in Las Vegas, Nevada. We'll be talking about her music, her enjoyment of production and DJing, and much more. Okay, everybody, my guest for this episode is a very talented songwriter, producer, instrumentalist, singer, and also a really crazy DJ who makes some really amazing beats. I have seen her on TikTok, on Instagram. We follow each other. We even did a virtual collab at one point a few years ago, and I now have the absolute pleasure of having her on the show. She is broadcasting here live from Las Vegas, Nevada, while I'm here in Vancouver, BC, Canada. On Instagram, you may know her as Tay X. So we got the talented Tay on this episode. Tay, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
Hi, thank you so much for having me on. I'm doing great.
It's really great to have you here. You know, you have quite the resume on your hand here, musically speaking. You know, you've done many things. You've hosted really sick events, including like pop-up parties. You've done showcases for musicians who are independent. And not only that, you are also an incredible singer, like I said. But I just wanted to, if you can take us back in time here, when did you start getting into music and what interested you in getting into it?
Yeah, I started off my music journey with like classical piano training from a very young age. So yeah, I've been doing music for like kind of my whole life. I don't really know what a life without it is like.
Yeah.
So I got in music theory, and then in high school I started to pick up guitar, just kind of teaching myself, and that's kind of when I started to like songwrite. I didn't like think of it at the time. For me, it was just a way to process like all my emotions and, you know, the internal teen angst and all that. So yeah, I've been writing songs since I was 15. And then it wasn't until I guess college I got into audio engineering and sound design, and I learned like Pro Tools and then Ableton from friends. And I worked as an assistant engineer in a studio for a bit, that I then kind of just took like, okay, here's my musical classical background paired with like the songs that I kind of just like naturally write and just kind of naturally come to me. And now with all this technical knowledge I have and like learning how to produce, it all just kind of like came together into like, okay, I guess I'm going to make my own music now. So I started making my own music around, let's see, I released my first songs in like 2019. I would say like the couple years before that, like 2016, 2017 is when I kind of got into like, okay, how do I like really produce my own stuff and make my own stuff come to life. I had like shadowed a lot of studio sessions. I had gotten into like the assistant engineering work, so like a lot more of the technical side of like the vocal comping and the recording. But now it was like, okay, me sitting at my computer, starting completely from scratch, like making my own music. So yeah, I did a lot more like alt pop and indie pop.
That's right.
Electro pop kind of leaning stuff. Yeah. And then just in this past year is when I really started to focus on more like house music and like electronic genres. I had done like top lines for a lot of EDM genres prior to that. But I was still personally like my artist project was still pretty pop leaning. So now I've kind of shifted into releasing music under Tay X ever since I started DJing.
Right on.
And yeah.
And seeing those videos of you DJing, especially when you DJ at the beaches, out in California, I was just like, man, like when you're just like bouncing up and down, just dancing to what you're spinning, I'm just like, man, she knows how to have a good time. But not only that, I'm just like, man, she just loves this. And I can tell, when even like when you're off duty, you're still just, bouncing around with your friends, having fun down the beach and all that, when other DJs are spinning too. And I can feel that you've really built that community for yourself where you get together with all these amazing friends and family who support you so much. With that being said, have you, like, going back to your songwriting, have you ever like just like showed stuff to your family and friends before you even release it? And like how much like how did they support you throughout your whole journey?
Yeah, so I definitely will like, like play snippets of like demos here and there for like any friends and family. I don't like go out of my way to like send stuff because it's like, okay, like what's this gonna do? They're gonna be like, oh, cool song, you know?
Yeah.
um I've definitely been a bit more like, I don't know. I definitely send it to them when it's like released, but I kind of like stay in my own bubble. And then
Hmm.
I feel like if anything, I definitely will send like if I want like genuine feedback. Like I have a few select people who like whose feedback I really like appreciate and listen to.
Hmm.
Or like one of my sisters is like, oh, like do you have music coming out? I'll like play. If anything, it's like when we're together, like I'll play it in the car because I keep rough drafts of stuff like on my phone.
Right on.
So yeah, like, if they ask, they're like, oh, like, what do you have coming up? It's like, oh, here's a new song I'm working on, just for like kind of the fun of it.
Right on. That's amazing. Now, the people who have taught you music, what is the most important, valuable thing that you've learned from them?
That's a good question. Oh my gosh, I've never been asked that before. I mean, my piano teacher who I had when I was growing up, she was all about like the expressiveness of the music. Like what she
Hmm.
taught me wasn't only like, okay, getting all the notes right, but it's like, okay, like the softness. And like she would perform, like when she would play, it was very like emotional and expressive. Like her whole body was playing the piano. It wasn't just her fingers. And it's like your arm
Wow.
movements and like the delicate like flow across the piano. And like in the more intense moments, you're in there and you're more aggressive. And then okay, like the softness of like the softer moments. So I feel like she taught me a lot about like dynamic performance.
Yeah.
And I feel like now, like when I'm thinking about it now, because I've never been asked this question before. So now when I'm thinking about it, I'm like, oh wow, like I feel like I really have carried that side of things with me. It's like you're not just playing a song, you're not just like mixing the music or do my live performances, you're not just saying the words. It's like you are fully expressing an emotional moment of the music or in the mix or in the DJ set. And like you're carrying and like almost conducting the audience with you in that moment. So yeah, that's probably definitely, I guess, one of my earliest takeaways for sure.
And it seems like your teacher has taught you how important it is to have the expression, the emotion to go with the music. It's like feeling the music is the big value that your teacher wanted to emphasize so much on.
Yeah, definitely. It didn't like really fully hit me until like I guess like later afterwards. I mean, like I understood it in the moment for sure. But it's I think now looking back, I'm like, oh, like I fully appreciate that like that was a part of like my training. It
Hmm.
wasn't just technical, it was like feeling the music. And like
Hmm.
for me, like music is like it's such an emotional experience. Like that's like one of my favorite parts about it. Even just like as a listener. So yeah,
Hmm.
I think that's really cool.
Yeah. And you were talking about your angst, and I remember you were broadcasting on one of your posts a little bit about your history with the music you listened to growing up. So angsty music. Let's talk about it. You had an emo phase, and so let's talk about all these amazing bands from the Warp Tour scene. Was there one? Was there any band that stuck out to you the most, and you're just like, man, these guys are just fantastic songwriters, great stage presence, and everything. Which band or artist comes to mind when it comes to the Warp Tour scene?
I would say like Panic at the Disco.
Hmm.
It's probably like one of the first bands I really love. Panic at the Disco, and then The Cab, Plain White Tees, and then
Yeah.
some of the more poppy, like pop punk stuff I loved a lot too, like The Maine, The Somerset.
Right.
But I was obsessed with lyrics from all these bands. There's this one band, I don't think they got as big, but they were still like in the Warped Tour scene. They were a duo called Versa Emerge.
Yeah.
And like I love the darker lyrical style that they had.
That's amazing.
Um, yeah, actually, yeah, one of their song lyrics ended up being like the senior quote in like my yearbook that year.
Ah,
Um,
nice.
yeah, and I have like my songwriting book that just like a physical. I used to like physically write lyrics. Now I definitely more so just use like my iPhone notes because it's quicker, and half
Of
my
course.
songwriting I do on the fly from recording anyway.
Yeah, yeah.
But for my actual one, I'm like just sitting in my room and like just writing before I could record or anything. My songwriting book, the inner cover, I would just keep pretty much like a running collage of like my favorite lines of lyrics from like all my music from that era, like whether it was clever or it just like resonated with me. So yeah, I have this like crazy collage of like all my favorite songwriting lyrics from that era.
That's amazing. And going back to Panic at the Disco, I mean, we all know Brendan Urie is such a very talented performer, great singer, and everything like that. What if you could learn something from Brendan Urie, what would it be?
Everything. I think, well, one, like the songwriting is crazy, the vocal performance is crazy, and then I would say just like, I don't know, just this out of the box thinking.
Yeah,
I feel like their music is so like unconventional, like when you really think about it.
yeah. And would it be
Mhm.
safe to assume your first song from Panic was "I Write Sins Not Tragedies"?
That one, and then okay, but there was another that I was definitely like more obsessed with because obviously everyone loves that song.
Of course, yeah,
The only difference between martyrdom and suicide is press coverage. That's a great one, and
yeah.
lying is the most fun a girl can have, but it's better if you do.
Awesome.
Those are like tops from like that album.
That's amazing. Good choices. Um, I know the fun part with one of their tours they did years back. I think it was on purpose. I think Brendan Urie, before the band would go on, he would actually get the sound people to play uh, uh, "Africa" by Toto, just to get the crowd all hyped up. Because if you go on YouTube, you'll see like the audience members like all singing along to the chorus for "Africa," and it's just so fun to see that. But I think that was just kind of like Brendan's way to hype up people before they go out to perform.
That's so cool. Wait, I did not realize that. That's so funny.
Yeah, because I feel like it seems like every tour, like every video clip I've seen where that happened, I'm just like, yeah, I think that was Brendan's idea. I'm pretty sure it is.
That's genius, honestly.
Yeah. Speaking of hyping up, if you were to cover any of those songs that Panic wrote, which one would it be if you had the opportunity today?
Oh my gosh. Wait, okay. The fact that you're asking this, I've been trying to figure out like if I want to do like a remix slash cover and like flip a song into like a house track,
Yeah.
I'm like, I think I need to pull from that era. I feel like I might have to pull something from this era. Ooh. Okay. I've I feel like lying is the most fun a girl can have would be a really cool one to flip. But I'm also like now the technical side of my brain is coming in and it's like, okay, before you commit, what BPM are these songs at? But
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, fun. That'd be fun.
Yeah.
It'd be fun. Yeah.
Yeah. I could, that's the thing, because I could see you killing it at emo night. If you went on
Oh
the
my God.
decks.
I love that. I you want it's such a good time.
Yeah.
Such a that would be so sick to like DJ or perform at some point in time. Or like some sort of I feel like there's definitely a fusion there between some of like the darker I mean, I think like especially bass music, but I think there's definitely some genres of EDM where it's like, yeah, that was made by like the Warped Tour era kids
Yeah.
for sure. Like it's just like evolved into this like new thing, like the rave scene. I'm like, yeah, some of these kids are definitely from the Warped Tour era. It's just it has the same flavor.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, imagine you remixing one of the later stuff from 2012. Was it "Girls, Girls, Boys"? Because that was a really catchy song from that era too. And I could see you just doing like a that just remixing that, and you would knock it out of the park.
Oh, that sounds sick. Okay, I'm inspired now. I
Yeah,
might have some more new projects to add to my list of projects.
there you go. Tay goes emo.
I
Yeah.
love it.
Nice, nice. Um, so if you had that chance to collab with anyone from that genre, continue on with the emo angst scene, who would you want to collab with besides Brendan Urie?
Ooh, oh my gosh, more good questions. Okay. Hang on. I feel like because I know that in the duo Versa Emerge, Blake Harnage then went on to like be a really successful songwriter. He's written like some of my other favorite songs that I didn't know he like wrote up until that time. So I feel like from like a songwriting standpoint, like he would be really dope to work with.
Right on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who else? I feel like there's definitely someone like in the back of my mind that I'm like totally forgetting about, but it'll hit me later.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Yeah. Feel free to jump in if you remember. So.
Oh wait. Oh my god. Fucking Haley Williams. There we go.
Yes, of course. Paramore's very own.
Of course, yes.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think you're actually the third guest to mention Haley's name, actually.
Oh really? No way.
Yeah.
Yeah, what a legend.
Yeah, of course. Yes. Yeah. I know it's kind of scary to think about this, but people are now saying Paramore is considered classic rock, numbers wise.
Is that like supposed to be a compliment or?
I guess so. Yeah, I would say so. It's just that anything that is like already like 20 years old, that's considered classic rock, I guess.
Oh, like age wise.
Yeah. That's why I say numbers wise. Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that is kind of trippy to think about.
Yeah.
But we don't think.
I know. It's like emos is like its own little personal realm, just like how we treat grunge music too.
Oh yeah.
So when I first met you virtually a few years ago, you were still living in Los Angeles, and now, of course, you moved to Las Vegas, Nevada. Can you tell me the difference of how the music scene is in LA compared to Las Vegas from your personal experience?
Yeah, I mean, LA is just a bigger city. So it's hard to compare because it's like you're working with a city of like, what is it, 5 million people versus like, I think the Las Vegas local scene is like less than 1 million. So yeah, I would say just like the amount of artists is just different. LA has, I think, just like a bigger music scene for sure. Like there's all these different pockets, and like LA is like 10 cities in one city. So then like each pocket has their own vibe. And then Vegas is definitely very heavy on like the party scene and like the entertainment and like the DJ aspect of it for sure. I know since I do more DJ stuff now, I'm not like immersed in like the live music scene in Vegas as much.
Right.
So I'm not like too what that's like.
Yeah. And have you done Fremont Street yet in Vegas?
I've DJed on Fremont Street. I've DJed at like Disco Pussy, We All Scream, Cheap Shot, where else? La Mona Rosa, Oddfellows. Those are kind of all the venues on Fremont that I've like done gigs at before. But yeah, Fremont's cool. That's like if I'm gonna go out, like that's one of my go-to spots for sure.
Yeah, I think it's one of the most famous streets in Vegas too. I mean, think about all the artists that have actually filmed their music videos there too. I mean, obviously we all know U2 was one of the big bands that did one of their music videos there like many moons back.
Yeah. No, it's definitely a big spot.
Yeah. So going back to your time in LA, I remember the one thing that stood out when I followed your channel on TikTok. You hosted these really amazing, fun pop-up parties that make me want to be there. I just love the fact that you put on these amazing parties and people showed up, and I could tell from the highlights it's such a great time. Can you walk us through of how the behind the scenes process went? Like, did you have to make a lot of phone calls, have planned a lot of different of artists of who's going to play, all that stuff? Walk us through your process.
I started doing pop-up events, which kind of then turned into the more of those got momentum. We then started hosting at like certain venues. So like for the venues, some of them were like I would just be doing the outreach by like emailing the booking contact, or maybe like a couple have like only reached out to me just because I was able to get like momentum on like socials just by posting about the events.
Right on.
Yeah, definitely with like artists, I was collecting like a ton of like artist submissions. So I have like a Google form where artists could like submit. And then just depending on the vibe of the event, we'd like curate from there. But then also it's just like the more people you meet, the more artists you meet, the more recommendations you get, the more I started working with like other promoters and event curators, and like they would have their own artists who would like hit them up. So then it's like pooling all of our resources together. So yeah, the first thing with like throwing a show is definitely like, hey, like date, venue, like what's the vibe, like what kind of event are we doing? Is it gonna be like acoustic? Are we doing full band? Is it just DJ? Lately I've been focusing, just since I'm mostly now just DJ, mostly on like the DJ events. And like here in Vegas, I started doing just like pop-ups in the desert that are just very like casual, low pressure. Like we're just gonna go throw a dance party just because we love music and dancing.
Nice.
Whoever wants to come, great. Whoever wants to spin, bring your USB.
Right
But the
on.
LA one's definitely a lot of organizing and a lot of like outreach. A lot of my contact and communication was like via DM or email. So yeah, just a lot of like virtual communication.
That's amazing. This is in this portion that you go ahead and name drop all you want. Was there any previous artists that played at your pop up parties in LA who stood out that you want to give a shout out to and should be recognized?
All of them. I feel like every artist was so like our talent was incredible. Every single artist on all of our lineups, like literally if you don't already, like go check out any artist who's on our flyers for Bite the Noise or
Mm-hmm.
Playground
Mm-hmm.
X. I think all of these artists are just phenomenal. Like the level of talent in Los Angeles is unreal. Like it's crazy how many artists there are.
That's amazing. And one of the clips from your live shows that you posted on your social media, at least the one that stood out for me that I really enjoyed, was you singing a piano lounge version of "Other Side" by the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I really enjoyed that. You know, you sang it in a different key. It's more mellow, and like the way you guys did it, you just made it sound so beautiful. Um, so I'm going to assume you must be a Chili Peppers fan, aren't you?
yeah. So that song, well, I ended up releasing like a full like alt pop version of that cover that I produced. But yeah, my keyboardist who would play my acoustic sets with me, shout out Alan Artin, another crazy talented electronic producer.
Hey, Alan.
Um, but yeah, I grew up listening to the Red Hot Chili Peppers because of my dad. Like he listened to like a lot of that era of music. So like
Mm-hmm.
if when I think of like who I would hear being played around the house when it was like a Saturday afternoon and like they're cleaning and just playing music, like it was definitely Chili Peppers. So I really wanted to cover a song that like had some, childhood roots in.
Mm-hmm. That's amazing. And did you or your dad pick up a copy of Anthony Kiedis's autobiography yet?
No, have not.
Because I haven't, I've yet to read it too, but I hear some really great things about that book.
Oh wow. Yeah, no, I actually haven't I didn't hear about it until you just mentioned it. I feel like I've been on like a podcast and then like certain like audiobooks I like love listening to. And then yeah, I like reading physical books as well. But I think it's cool when like the person whose autobiography it is, like when they're narrating their own book. So I'm curious if he narrates.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Um, you were talking about your skills in audio engineering. Obviously, you know, I've seen how you produce. You are an amazing producer. Um, who do you think is one of your inspirations for producing? Do you have any mentors who taught you along the way?
I have mentor wise, I would say, I mean, I got like my initial I learned Pro Tools in school. Like we had like a 6 week like certification class, so like the technical side of things I got down in there. And then I learned a lot of the way that I like engineer and mix through the studio that I used to work at in downtown LA. They were called MMP Sound. It was run by a guy named David Geelan.
Right on.
So that was when I really learned a lot of my like recording and like the basics of like producing and like using Melodyne and like how to mix and like it was Pro Tools for all of it. But now I produce everything in Ableton. I still use Pro Tools to record, but definitely Ableton for producing. And I feel like a lot of that I picked up from a blend of just like friends showing me things and then I would YouTube things. And I think especially because it's like I understood like the flow of a DAW, like, okay, what do I need to look for? What do I need to figure out how does this work, but just translate it into Ableton.
Right.
It was a YouTube thing. But then yeah, just like working with like a lot of other producers who like were using Ableton. It's like even now, like there's still some shortcuts where it's like I'll watch someone like, oh, like that's how you do that. Cool, great.
Yeah.
It's like a never ending process.
Hmm. Right on. And from one producer to another, I need to ask you, what do you think has been one of the biggest challenges that you've learned so much from? I know, like for a lot of us, we always say mixing, right? Because we know that mixing is one of the most common challenges. What for yourself has it been? Mixing, editing, recording the instruments. What is it on your end?
Well, it's funny because recording and mixing is like what I started in. I did like a lot of sound design work for like film too, and like I would shadow like a lot of mixing sessions. So like now it's just like the genre switch. Now I'm working with like a different genre. Like okay, like in house music, certain elements are louder compared to like pop and things need to hit harder. And I think for me, one of the biggest challenges is like just breaking out of the confines of like my first instinct is always to kind of write like a pop leaning song.
Mm-hmm.
And so now I'm trying to undo a lot of the structure that I've become so accustomed to. And I guess just like get in the creative flow of like being a lot more experimental with my music and yeah, just kind of like undoing my own creative walls and like really working more outside the box. I think for me, the biggest challenge is always that like that creative push. It's not the technical stuff. The technical stuff I found like, okay, I can learn it, I can fix it. Like
That's
that's
right.
easy, but it is like how do you create something that like evokes the emotion that you want it to evoke?
That's right.
You know, how
Yeah.
do you make it unique? How do you craft like your sound? So that's where I'm currently at.
That's amazing. Yeah, and like I said, you're killing it. My hats off to you for developing your skills over the years that I've known you. So awesome stuff. And speaking of which,
Thank you so
let's
much.
yeah, no worries. Yeah, but let's talk about your songs. Listening to your releases, including Inner Mechanics, obviously like that, that came out about a year ago on Spotify, and it's a really cool EP. Like obviously, we know was a Headspace. I did a metal remix of that, and it was fun to work with that. But let's talk about your other tracks too. Like Shut It Off was the one that stood out for me too, right? And I'm just like, man, this is this has some really epic vibes to it. And if you guys haven't checked it out yet, please do, because Shut It Off is one of those really cool, like dark pop with like it almost has that bit of a cinematic vibe. It should be on a movie basically. Um, uh, what inspired you to write Shut It Off?
That one. Well, I also want to give a shout out to the producer on that track was E Halls. He absolutely killed it with the production for that one. But yeah, I guess the lyrics to that one came up for me. Because the song's kind of about like I've always been like kind of an emotionally closed off person. Like
Mm-hmm.
I don't show thoughts and feelings, and that song is kind of just like acknowledging that like that exists. But yeah, so that one I was released under like my project Tay. Everything that I put out now is under Tay X.
That's right.
Um I feel like for me, like everything under Tay was like that EP, Inner Mechanics was very much about like acknowledging that like these are parts of yourself that like exist. Like
Mm-hmm.
they're all a work in progress and they're things that I want to work on. But yeah, the track was just simply about like, yeah, I think the hook in that one was like from the moment it's bright, I shut it off, which is like kind of my way of writing and um what am I trying to say? That like the translation for that being like, oh, the moment I feel some sort of emotion coming up, like boom, disassociate, buried, suppressed. But I've done so much like work on myself since then for sure. Like I
Mm-hmm.
don't it's interesting. I'm like, huh, I don't like really resonate with like that part of myself anymore. I know that like that's how I used to be for sure, but I've
Yeah.
fully like on being able to kind of like open up and like let myself like process my emotions.
That's amazing. Yeah, I'm glad you shared that too. Um, let's talk about your track Override. That one is another one of my favorites too. It's pretty fun. It's pretty upbeat and everything like that. What was the inspiration for Override?
Yeah, so for Override, I guess that song is kind of about like my tendencies to um just wanting to be like a perfectionist with things. So Override is kind of like overriding like that the imposter syndrome that would like kick in.
Mm-hmm.
Um feeling like you're not enough or like anytime those thoughts creeping in your head, just like yeah, telling yourself to override all that.
Right on. No, thanks for sharing that too. And it's good to have that insight about that track. So now moving forward, with your project as Tay X, like I said, you've been killing it everywhere. Like I said, we follow your videos on your social media. I can tell that you've really connected with the people that come and see what you do. So what's one of the most important things you want to get out of when you do your live performances as a DJ?
I think one of the biggest things for me is like music is a way to like bring people together and like connect. So for me, it's like, okay, like being able to create a space for like human connection, or maybe the music is like causing an emotional reaction in that person. So I think it's just like an energetic like release. I think an
Yeah.
energetic release, and just like having a community through music is like the most awesome thing to me.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, and in that, and I think it circles back to everything that you've done, even like back when you did those pop up party gatherings, and even and also what you're doing now. It's like it seems like community has been the big emphasis on what you're doing, and I can see that. And like I said, you always have that nice smile on your face when you're around with your friends who hang out with you at at your gigs, and it's really cool to see that.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's been such like a rewarding part of it all. And I feel like I wouldn't have kept going with like doing events if it wasn't like for everyone around me who was also enthusiastic about it and they loved like the spaces that were being created. And yeah, so literally thank you to anyone who's ever like performed or like come to any of the events I've thrown, because like I absolutely wouldn't be doing this if I didn't have that much support and
Yeah.
also like reciprocated like enthusiasm for
Yeah.
all of it.
Yeah, that's awesome. What was the most unique compliments you've ever has been given to you when at your shows?
A unique compliment.
Yeah, or anything
I
anything
mean,
anything that stands out.
um, I think yeah, some of my like recent gigs, like I once had someone like get up, like walk all the way across the bar and come up to me and he was like, "Oh, like you're really good at what you do." And I really liked the wording of that. Something about it specifically was like it's not like, "Oh, you're like, oh, like I get like, oh, like I love your mixing." Like it's that's a compliment that I do kind of hear a lot also.
Yeah,
But for some reason the like good at what you do was like, "Oh, like there was like a certain like level." It was a very like like profound professional comment. I like really appreciated that. So, yeah.
yeah, yeah. Well, that's amazing. Um, so what's your plan now for future shows? Do you have any specific goals for the rest of 2024 or and years to come?
Yeah, definitely have like certain like venues or like let's say certain events that like I'd love to be a part of or DJ at. I think for me it's like the sky's the limit. Like I'm just trying to like DJ as many events that like I can that I personally enjoy. I'm in the middle of working on like a lot more new music, so
Mm-hmm.
the goal is to eventually have like a lot more of my sets be like my music or like my edits. So just focusing on like kind of collecting that body of work and then being like, okay, like what does like my DJ set really sound like when I'm not trying to curate to like the vibe of a certain like event or a certain venue. So yeah, I'm really excited to see where things go for the rest of this year.
Mm-hmm. Oh, indeed. You have posted on your social media, even with you just traveling, just to chillax and everything like that. What is your do you have a dream destination that you want to travel to in the future?
I mean, I would love to play like all over Europe, like London, Ibiza, like Berlin. Like it would be so sick to travel. Like traveling is like one of my other favorite passions, and like combining music and travel is like very much high on my list of like what I want to do. I've never been like anywhere in Asia, so that's super high on my bucket list for like where I want to travel to next. And I think it would just be awesome if like music is like the vehicle that like can take me to some of these places.
Mm-hmm, for sure. I've been to Asia back in April actually, so I'm going to say go to Hong Kong. They'll love you there for sure.
Yes, definitely on my bucket list.
Yeah. Now, let's say money is not an issue. If you could attend any music festival in the world, where would it be, and who would you want to see in the lineup? Let's say you get to travel anywhere, and you could build your dream lineup as well. Where would it be, and who would you want on the bill?
Oh wow. Um, I mean, I would say like I still have not been to EDC. Yes, I know I live in Vegas. I did not go to EDC. EDC and also like Tomorrowland
Yes,
in Belgium, like would be like the craziest festival to attend. Um, Sets wise, obviously got to see my girl Alice in Wonderland on there.
yes, that's right. Yeah.
Fred again, Skrillex, like Odessa. I don't even know if, like that's their vibe. I want to see that happen. Rufus Du Sol. Oh man, so sweet. I feel like, let's see. Yeah, no, those have to be my tops for sure.
Can you picture yourself doing a TayX tour? Like, I would pay to see that personally.
Oh yeah, that's the goal. Very
Nice.
much the goal.
Nice. Yes. Awesome. Well, like I said, if you ever come up to Vancouver, let me know. I would definitely love to come and support you 100%.
For sure. I mean, obviously, at any point when I have a tour lineup, like, gotta make it up to all of Canada, Vancouver for sure.
Yeah.
I haven't been to Canada at all ever yet, so and it's like right there.
Oh, I know. Yeah, we're pretty much your neighbors in a way. So yeah.
Then I want to go. I think I'm actually going this summer for like a few days for like a family thing.
Right on. That's amazing. Um, Now, when we were talking about concerts, so let's get your perspective, even as a concert attendee. What do you think makes a good show? What's your definition of a memorable show that will make people want more?
I think just something that's like captivating and dynamic. Like when the artist takes you on a journey and like
Hmm.
everything from the visuals to the music to the way everything builds and flows from like one song to another, like that to me is really, really memorable. Um, that plus, but then it's like when I'm thinking back to concerts I've seen in the last year, it's like, okay, but then you have artists like Ray, who is definitely more like pop leaning, like not like electronic, not like a DJ at all. But like
Hmm.
her live show was so insanely good to me. One, she's just a crazy talented performer.
Oh
Like her
yeah.
vocals are wild, but like she had a lot of these really like human moments in her set where like she's talking to the audience and like she's so like she just comes off as like so like down to earth and she's talking about these very like human things and like human emotions and it just felt really real and like very intimate. So I think that's cool. That to me is also very, very memorable.
That's awesome. So, if you were to collaborate with anybody in the world, who would your top three be at this moment?
Oh my gosh. Fred again. Um, hmm. I mean, I'm just gonna like repeat Odessa again
Of
because they're
course.
also like one of, and then Sophie Tucker.
Amazing. Good list. That's awesome. Um, what about in terms of even just let's say if you want to pick anyone from your going back to to the local scene here, because obviously now you have a really great life out there in Vegas right now. Is there anybody that you've met along the way so far in your journey here in Vegas that you have yet to collab with? And this is a good opportunity again to name drop anybody from the local scene in Vegas.
I've not. I feel like I've been doing like a lot of cross collaborations actually. I feel like with everyone who like I do kind of work with out here, even if like the track isn't out yet. Like I've been collaborating with a lot of the homies for sure.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, and I could see you being so like easy to work with, but also like I could just tell that people would have so much fun with you. Because like I said, you seem to have all these really amazing ideas, and you make it happen. You make it come to life, and like I said, with your knowledge of everything, having a good ear for music, like. I think that's the one thing I'll tell you that makes you stand out. Of course, besides your passion for people, the passion for community, like you seem to have like this interesting ear for music that people are just like, wow, like at least for me, as an audience member, it seems to grab me for some reason. And like I said, this like I could see you you making some really great tunes coming to life.
Oh, thank you so much. No, I really appreciate it. That's like really, really, really cool feedback to hear. I mean, I feel like yeah, when you're in it for just like the love of it, like, and there's no constraints. Like I'm not trying to like put myself in like any sort of like a genre box. Like yeah, sure, because like I DJ now. There's like certain sort of templatey like things that I want to follow, but I'm also very much in the process of like okay, like I want to cross collaborate with like me and one of my other producer friends. Like she makes mostly like bass music and I do
Yeah.
house, so we fuse our two sounds together and like the track is turning out really dope. So it's like I love that stuff too. I just love like it when you do something for the love of it, like honestly, like that, yeah, that's all that matters to me. And we just have so much like fun doing it. like anybody who I work with.
Hmm.
So it doesn't feel like work. Like that's the best kind of work when it doesn't feel like work.
It's not. I mean, it's not just work. It's your passion.
That too. Like live it, breathe it. Like if I have free time, like that, I'm making music. Like there's like nothing that I've like wanted more in my life than this. And you really do have to like want it to a certain level because it's like years of putting in like a lot of work and like a lot of behind the scenes without any sort of like I don't know feeling like there's any sort of like growth or like momentum. It really is just like you really have to like love it.
Exactly. Exactly. So let's speaking of compositions and producing and everything. Could you see your stuff being put in soundtracks in the future? Let's say uh, anything in a movie, anything in a TV show or a video game. Uh, could you picture something like that with your material down the road?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, just kind of, who knows what kind of music I'm gonna make in the future, but like a lot of the textures that I've kind of been working with now are like a bit more like, I don't know, darker. So maybe something like a little like sci-fi like. I tend to gravitate towards like sci-fi visuals when it comes to like inspo just for my own stuff. So like, yeah, cool like sci-fi series or film, I feel like would be really, really dope to hear my tracks in.
And for those of you folks who of course it's audio, but I know you can't see it right now, but Tay here has a really adorable dog. Can you tell us more about your little dog here?
My little pup, her name is Cleo.
Hi,
She's
Cleo.
Pomeranian. She has a whole,
Yeah,
yeah, she's my baby. It's really just her.
yeah.
It's her world, and I'm
That's
just in
awesome.
it.
Awesome.
I put her on my lap, barking at the neighbors, so she's
Of
on my
course,
lap for the
yeah.
duration of the podcast.
That's awesome. Um, Now, advice to up and coming artists, independent artists. We all know that. You've been there, I've been there. We're still hustling big time to get our names out there. Now, what would be the advice that you want to give to up and coming artists? Whether they be producers or performers or DJs, what would you tell them?
I mean, I would say like just focus on like the music before everything else. I feel like especially in today's day and age, like we're all on social media, we're all on Instagram, but it's like don't
Yeah.
feel the pressure from that bef- like the music is ready. Like I almost wish that like I took more time to like work on like the creative development, like the artist development and like working on my craft before putting all this pressure on myself to like make content and do socials and
Hmm.
like I'm kind of like doing it simultaneously now. Um I really feel like there is something to be said about just like okay, like literally lock yourself in the studio for like a year and work on music and like focus on like developing like you before everything else. Cause like as much as something could like pop off on socials or like go viral or like whatever it is, like it's all gonna come back to like the music itself. Like, is the song good? So I think making sure that your music is like as good as it can be. Let yourself
Yeah.
make bad stuff for sure. You're gonna make bad things. Like you gotta sift through the dirt to get to the gold. That's a huge lesson. I
Mm.
didn't like let myself make as much bad stuff as I should have. I kind of like, oh, let me go work with the producers or like let me just like stop. There was a period of time where I kind of just stopped producing. So I also think that like continuing to push through like the growing pains and just like keeping at it is so important. That was like three pieces of advice in one, but yeah.
No, that's great. And in the words of John Legend, the imperfections are also the beauty part of the whole thing.
Yeah, that too. And also you never I mean this is like one of the positives of socials is like you also never know how something's going to be received. Like something that you might not like maybe actually is really well received. So I think there is something to be said about like a good comment like okay, like lock up in your studio, but then also like put yourself out there. There's like an equal balance.
When I look back at your social media channels on both Instagram and TikTok, I'm seeing growth, and it's amazing what you've accomplished so far. Like I said, with you, starting off in Los Angeles, and now, fast forward, now you're in Las Vegas, just killing it. And I gotta say, we're all really proud of you.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Yeah, thanks for being a part of this whole journey. It's definitely been like,
Yeah.
yeah, quite the journey. I try not to use the same word
No, it's
in
true. Like,
the same sentence, but yeah, it's a journey. That's what it is. Yeah.
It's true. Like journey is the main emphasis on the whole thing. Just from what I'm seeing from your social media, and like I said, I know you're gonna keep going, and you're gonna do such a great job. And like I said, I think what really made me so attracted to your work and your video content is just the fact that you smile and you're just dancing with people and you're just having a great time because you love it. And like I said, or like you said, the emphasis on community, I can see that in your videos of how important that is to you. And so, like I said, your good things are still going to be coming your way, and I'm so proud of you for that. Is there any final words you want to give to the audience? Like, where can they find you?
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram at thisistayx on all socials, and Spotify under TayX. Yeah, that's where I'll be for the time being.
TayX, an amazing person that you got to check out. And of course, if you're in Vegas, make sure you check out her amazing shows. As long as you follow her on the socials, she'll be out there. And don't be afraid to say hi because she is that awesome. So with that being said, thank you so much, Tay, for being a part of this episode today.
Thank you so much for having me. I don't know if you can hear that, but yeah, my dog is also really, really stoked to be a part of this too.
That's awesome. All right, guys, thank you so much, and we will see you next time. We hope you enjoyed this episode of The Eddie Lam Show, a podcast dedicated to interviewing musicians and online content creators of every kind. If you would like to be a guest on the program, feel free to send me an email at eddielammusic@gmail.com. That's EDDIELAMmusic@gmail.com. Don't forget to check out my website at eddielammusic.ca. That's EDDIELAMmusic.ca. You can also follow me on social media. Username is Eddie Lam Music. That's EDDIELAM Music on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Thank you so much for tuning into our program. In the meantime, stay in touch, stay safe, and as always, stay awesome.